The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Hey everyone, welcome to this stream, this episode, whatever we're calling it these days. No idea what we're calling, but it is good to see you. And I am glad to be here and discussing these issues that we get to discuss. I don't take it for granted. So thank you for being here. Thanks to everyone who makes this possible. Shout out to everyone in the chat room. We see you, Yvette, over on Facebook. Let me scroll back up and get some of the first people here. What's going on? Betty over on Facebook. She was first. Valerie, good to see you. Willow Katz, it's good to see you. Sonia, good evening to everyone, wherever you are. Thank you for joining the stream. Let's start with an amazing clip. I want to start with the clip that I just premiered a video on. I want you to be sure to watch the premiere version. But here's let's talk about it live for a second. I was wondering, and I have been wondering for some time, when people were going to have had enough of Donald Trump. When Republicans, right? Not people. Let's be sure. It's not people. It's Republicans. When were they going to have enough of Donald Trump threatening our democracy? Take a listen in.
Good afternoon. My name is Gabriel Sterling. I'm the Voting System Implementation Manager for the state of Georgia. And just to give you all a heads up, this is going to be sort of a two-part press conference today. At the beginning of this, I'm going to do my best to keep it together because it has all gone too far. All of it. Joe DeGeneva today asked for Chris Krebs, a patriot who ran CISA, to be shot. A 20-something tech in Gwinnett County today has death threats and a noose put out saying he should be hung for treason. It has to stop.
Yeah.
Mr. President, you have not condemned these actions or this language. Senators, you have not condemned this language or these actions. This has to stop. We need you to step up, and if you're going to take a position of leadership, show some.
Now, folks, that's a Republican speaking, right? Gabriel Sterling, a Republican campaign official here in the state of Georgia, and he's saying what should have been said a long time ago. All right. But sure, great. I'm glad you guys have gotten to the party. You finally have got to the place where you're tired of seeing everything that Donald Trump has been doing since the election to undermine all of America's democracy, the entire democratic experiment. Glad you guys are just now catching up with this. And I want to put something in perspective. If this is a Republican official from Georgia, Republican, he believes in republicanism so much he is a campaign official, and he is this concerned about Donald Trump's actions. Doesn't that kind of tell you, or it suggests to me, maybe not you, but tell me if my judgment is off here, because my judgment's not always good. But doesn't that suggest to you the implications of what's really happening are so dire that we now have Republicans coming out screaming and yelling at the top of their lungs, enough's enough? So, it's one thing for people to say, Ben, oh, you're just fear mongering and blah, blah, blah. Donald Trump is not going to overthrow the government. You're just, people say, okay, fine. I do want people to give me the benefit of the doubt because I generally root everything that I argue in logic and reason and good faith arguments, right? So I would love people to give me the benefit of the doubt, but that's okay. If you play it out and you look at who Donald Trump is and what Donald Trump has shown us to date, just on the sheer virtue of who Donald Trump is, that suggests that he would actually try this. That's number one. Number two, he's actually trying it. He's actually trying to overturn the results of the election. And number three, you see Republican officials are now coming out like, oh my God, Donald Trump, enough's enough. Because some people don't. I knew there had to be at least 10 Republicans that didn't think civil war was a good idea. Okay? And there has to be at least 10. These videos are going to be so amazing, man. Like in 25 years, I'm going to come back and I'm looking at this video and see my little girl crossing behind me. And I want you guys, if you're here in the year 2045, and you just saw my little girl walk past, that means we survived. See, I was ready to get serious again. Go. No, I shouldn't even recognized her. If I hadn't recognized her, she wouldn't be doing this. Go get into bed, sweet pea. Go get into bed. Back to the point. What was my point? Here we go. Number one was that. Number two was that. Number three, we now have Republican officials who are coming out showing us, y'all thought I'd really lost it, showing us how dire the situation really is. So at what point, to all the people who are like, Ben, you're just fear mongering, at what point are you going to take this serious? Like, what does Donald Trump have to do? What does Donald Trump have to do in order to make you believe that he means what he says when he wants to overturn the results of this election? Now, thankfully, we have only 7 weeks left of this. We only have 7 weeks left of this. And so when it's over, it's over, and we don't have to go through this again. But I just believe that the implications of Republicans now coming out and in full force yelling at the top of their lungs, enough is enough. He literally said, you're going to get people killed. All right. This Republican, you could look at me and say, Ben, you just want to get the clicks off of Donald Trump. Yeah. I mean, click on the goddamn videos, right? We got an operation to run here. But seriously, there is a logical conclusion to be made based on the precedent of all of this individual's behavior. The precedent that it sets. We have every right as human beings to look at the behavior. I mean, the so-called justice system does it, right? They look at your behavior in terms of credit to evaluate your credit worthiness. If you look at Donald Trump's credit as it pertains to the Constitution and American democracy, that told me everything that we needed to know before election night, that Donald Trump was not going to respect the results of this election. And so far, his actions align with that. What is it going to take for these clowns to finally say, oh, wait a minute. Let me make sure that I'm making this clear so that you can follow what I'm going to correct myself on. When I say, what is it going to take for them, I'm not talking about Republicans. Because Republicans, some have shown that they're willing to go all the way with Donald Trump. Others are showing that they're now just finally coming to the light. Whatever it was, something's happening behind the scenes that is making Republican officials sound the alarm and say enough is enough. People are going to get killed. I'm going to put my tangent on the side. Maybe I'll come back and pick it up. But that's the lead. Something is happening behind the scenes of the Republican apparatus that is making Republican officials sound the alarm. I don't know. I don't know what else to say to those people. Now, let me be specific, or at least let me give you a clearer picture of who those people are who are still denying the fact that Donald Trump is actively trying to overthrow the results of this election, right? They're the intelligentsia is what I like to call them. The journalist class, the commentariat, right? The commentariat being like people who do what I do. I don't care where you do your commentary. Like, I don't care if you do your commentary on SoundCloud, YouTube, or I don't care, hell, it could be Fruity Loops as far as I'm concerned, right? If you do commentary, you do commentary, right? So you're part of that commentariat. All the people who do YouTube videos, all of the journalists, all of the people, there was a moment of erudite kind of sophisticated arrogance where they wouldn't believe that Donald Trump would actually try to overthrow democracy. I'm like John the Baptist, okay? I'm like John the Baptist out there on Twitter all the damn time, to be honest with you. If anything, if I have any gift, it's the ability to connect the dots, okay? And I saw this coming a mile away. So while people were taking the confident stance in America and the belief, they just had this belief in Donald Trump that he would at least leave office. To me, that was the most foolhardy assumption. The most foolhardy assumption was that Donald Trump was going to ever respect the results of the election. He's shown us here up until this point that that's the case. Okay. So the point is, whatever that tangent was, it was important at the time, but it's not as important as me simply telling you this. We need to be confident in our ability to make conclusions about a person and a situation based on everything that they have shown us to date. Everything that Donald Trump has shown us to date was that he was never going to respect the results of the election. The only assurance that this is what we're working with, and then I'm gonna breathe. What we're working with is Donald Trump's response to one journalist, the woman journalist, I believe about 2 or 3 days ago. She asked Donald Trump very specifically, "Are you not going to leave on the 20th?" Or no, how did she put it? No, I want to be very specific. I can't remember her exact phraseology, but it was the very first time that Donald Trump actually said, "I'm going to leave." You know that. This is how difficult it is for us to actually get an affirmative statement from the president of the United States that he's going to respect the peaceful transfer of power. Okay? You see how difficult that was for me? And I do this every single day. So the closest thing that we have as an affirmative statement from Donald Trump that he's going to leave and pass the power to Joe Biden is this one instance that I can promise you happened. I just can't remember the specific question of how she phrased it, but the way she phrased it, it made Donald Trump finally conclude or let the world know that of course he's going to leave on the 20th. Of course he's going to leave on the 20th, but he's going to do everything he can between now and then to overturn the results of the election. So at what point will America start believing him? Huh? All right, so another story that I was following a little bit before today's episode is the investigation that is now taking place by the Department of Justice looking into presidential pardons for pay. Presidential pardons for pay. Now, we don't know exactly where this stops. but we do know it goes to the White House. Donald Trump has 7 weeks left, folks. Hey to everybody in the chat room. Countess, good to see you. Courtney, it says Ben is getting fancy with the interludes. Hey, we gotta always upgrade. My thing is get started and do something better every single day. You'll get there eventually. So I don't know exactly how far the buck stops with this particular issue. We do know it goes all the way to the White House. And it is hilarious because clearly it seems as though this goes directly to the president because the nature of presidential pardons, it's right there in the name. Now, I do assume that there is a layer, obviously, of people that something has to get through before it even gets to the president's desk. But we're talking about the Trump administration. It could be, the mailman could just be delivering it to Donald Trump right in the Oval Office. That's the kind of foolishness we're dealing with this administration. That said, we still don't know exactly how far it goes. So it could be that Donald Trump gets away from this scot-free. But the basics of it is really simple. There was allegedly a scam to get a presidential pardon in exchange for a couple dollars, for some cash. Pay to play, bribery. President of the United States has been embroiled in controversy since day one, since he got into this White House. I have no doubt in my mind. I think it is reasonable for us to conclude that this goes right to Donald Trump. The only real question is how effective could they possibly have been at giving Donald Trump plausible deniability? And at this point, does he have anyone around him still loyal enough to make sure that he has plausible deniability, even if he doesn't provide for them the same plausible deniability? That's the real question.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
All right, got a couple more clips. I love that interlude. That thing, those horns, man, nothing like some soul music. All right, let's take a look at this clip from Fox News.
They're not told what to do. They get everything wrong every single time. What are the updates? Where do you see the best opportunity for the Trump campaign to make their legal arguments?
So the state to watch this week is the state of Nevada. We have been granted discovery, and what that means in the litigation world is this. We are now allowed to depose witnesses. And notably, Sean, Democrats have been fighting tooth and nail for us not to be able to depose witnesses, not to be able to investigate and ask questions. We finally have been granted that in Nevada.
Let's bring in Kayleigh McEnany. She's the White House press secretary. It looks like she's on the North Lawn. Kayleigh, good morning to you.
Great to join you.
Good to have you. Okay, so Griff was just talking about the situation down in Georgia where they've got the twin runoff races first week in January. And he brought up, the president is talking about how the election was rigged. And there are a number of Republicans who are worried that that kind of thing could backfire on that particular runoff election because they say, if it's rigged, if the 2020 November election was rigged and this one's rigged, why should I even bother voting?
Yeah, I'll leave it to the campaign to pontificate on the president's strategy with regard to...
Well, sometimes you're with the campaign, so you know the thinking there.
Sometimes.
I do. I'm joining you in my official capacity today from the White House lawn, but I'll say this. The president has been unapologetic for the last 10 months in saying that mail-in voting, mass mail-in voting is subject to fraud.
Okay. So we had those clips run back to back because we wanted you to see. Just last night, Kayleigh McEnany was on Sean Hannity. He's doing the work of the campaign. Never mind the fact that she actually, they like to make it seem like, oh, I'm not officially on the clock in my capacity as the press secretary, so it's not in violation of the Hatch Act, but you're not a wage worker. So your money is overlapping there somehow, but I'm sure whatever, they have court cases to litigate that. The point is that Kayleigh McEnany is using herself as a campaign spokesperson at night, a member of the campaign, while actually being the press secretary by day. I mean, you can't get really. I only hesitate because I know nobody cares. Yeah, nobody cares how much Donald Trump is breaking this country. Nobody cares. I know you do. So I'm not talking to you, the viewer, you, the listener. I'm talking to the people who don't care. The people for whom Donald Trump could burn this country to ashes. And you'll have one group who are like, yes, dear leader. And then you have another group who will finally look at the ashes and say, oh, maybe Donald Trump was a fascist after all. Those are the people who I say, like, none of them care. None of them care about what Donald Trump does to this country. So I don't even know why I should waste my breath about Kayleigh McEnany. Because if they don't care if the president of the United States does it, do you think they really are going to care that his press secretary is breaking the law? No, they're not. And therein lies the difficulty of this moment, right? Therein lies the problem of this moment is that we're facing an opposition that has no regard whatsoever for truth. They have no regard whatsoever for justice, but that goes without saying, but I think it needs to be included, right? Obviously, they have no regard for justice. They have no regard for justice. They have no regard for truth. They have no regard for anything except power. And when you're dealing with people who have no regard for anything except power, you need to understand that they will destroy everything in order to get power. Which means they have to be willing to destroy everything, because if they don't get power, this is the kind of absurdity that we're dealing with Republicans. They can't concede. Donald Trump and his sycophants can't concede. And only a handful of Republicans are getting nervous now because this threatens their life. Like this Republican down in Georgia, it threatened his life. So now he's concerned. But that's just a minority of Republicans. And even if they're not going with Donald Trump on this, they voted for this sociopath. Like 70-some million people voted for the sociopath. Ugh. The point is that these problems pre-existed Donald Trump. They're going to be here when Donald Trump leaves. And we're dealing with a type of thinking in this country that was here before Donald Trump and is going to be here after he leaves. And it's a whole lot of people. And those people have no regard for truth. They have no regard for justice. They have no regard for being engaging in good faith. They have no regard for those things. They can absolutely look at Donald Trump and think that Donald Trump has, they would look at Donald Trump as the hero of the story. That's what you need to understand. We're dealing with people that, despite all of the evidence to show that Donald Trump has been one of the most consequential in a negative way president in the history of this country, they see the greatest president in the history of this country. Oh, man. All right, so let's look at a couple more clips, and then we're going to do the patron party. Side note, Friday night is our actual patron party. Okay, I think I need to give myself an applause and give all the patrons and the Twitch subscribers an applause. Yeah. Friday night, if anybody has been around me any amount of time, you know I love to party. So we have turned this pandemic patron party into an actual Zoom party, and we have one of the dopest DJs. He's coming Friday night. Actually, I need to hit him up. He's always been Johnny on the spot for me, so we make sure we take good care of him. I will hit him up right now as we speak while this next video plays. But anyway, the DJ will be there, and it's going to be fire. Go to patreon.com/the BPD show to see to join, to become a part of the patron family. Or if you're on Twitch, and you want to just subscribe without spending any of your money, you can do so by using your Prime membership, your Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, then you have the ability to pay and to support this program without spending any of your money, just by going to twitch.tv/Benjamin P. Dixon and donating your Prime membership. All right, let's look at this clip and keep rocking.
It seems like any politician who is awake, and not a guilty white liberal, as so many of them are in both parties, would understand that people of all colors and backgrounds support order and hate violence. So why aren't there more politicians rushing forward to take advantage of this opportunity?
It's completely bizarre. It turns out that ideology trumps common sense, and it trumps, for a very long time, people's own sense of comfort and their own desires, because a lot of these politicians who have been demonizing the cops have been reelected because people would rather embrace the idea that they are alone in fighting racism. It makes them feel virtuous. And frankly, the other reason, Tucker, is the vast majority of crime is happening in inner city neighborhoods. It's the class divide that you talked about before. It's also a race divide. This isn't going to change until white kids start getting shot in their homes at night.
Yeah. It's really a sick religion. It's all over the Anglo world, too.
I'm sorry, wait a minute. I'm reacting to this in real time. I was like, okay, what is this about? And then she slid that in at the very end. I got to listen to it one more time. Let's go.
Idea that they are alone in fighting racism. It makes them feel virtuous. And frankly, the other reason, Tucker, is the vast majority of crime is happening in inner city neighborhoods. It's the class divide that you talked about before. It's also a race divide. This isn't going to change until white kids start getting shot in their homes at night.
Yeah. It's.
I'm sorry, it doesn't follow. Like what she's. Don't worry. I caught the absurdity and the offensiveness of her statement, but her last sentence has. How does that follow? One more time, folks.
Completely bizarre. It turns out that ideology trumps
Hang on. No, I just because I like to make sure. This is my first time seeing this video, and I like to make sure I really understood it and digested it for myself before I go off. All right, so let's listen one more time.
It seems like any politician who is awake, and not a guilty white liberal, as so many of them are in both parties, would understand that people of all colors and backgrounds support order and hate violence. So why aren't there more politicians rushing forward to take advantage of this opportunity?
It's completely bizarre. It turns out that ideology trumps common sense, and it trumps, for a very long time, people's own sense of comfort and their own desires, because a lot of these politicians who have been demonizing the cops have been reelected because people would rather embrace the idea that they are alone in fighting racism. It makes them feel virtuous. And frankly, the other reason, Tucker, is the vast majority of crime is happening in inner city neighborhoods. It's the class divide that you talked about before. It's also a race divide. This isn't going to change until white kids start getting shot in their homes at night.
Yeah. It's really a sick religion. It's all over the Anglo world, too. It's not just the United States. There's something really dark going on.
Tucker Carlson, what the hell is wrong with you, Tucker Carlson? It's all over the Anglo world. I mean, yeah, it's all over the Aryan Nation. It's all, it's all over the Caucasoid Mountains. What the hell is wrong with this dude? Like, as if she said wasn't bad enough, he had to throw in his little, it's all over the Anglo world. It's not just, white folks. Yeah. I had a very difficult time allowing myself to be frustrated with this individual. I missed her name. Her name was on the screen. because it was so unbelievably incoherent that I was like, nothing followed. There was not a coherent sentence in the entire collection of her sentences. Like literally nothing made sense. No statement. It's fine if your sentences don't always stack up one after the other, right? Because if you follow me for any amount of time, you know I'll go off on a tangent for 30 minutes and then come back. So I'm not trying to tell her that she has to do it in a specific order, but you got to do it at some point. At some point, you got to make it a coherent argument. At some point, your previous sentence needs to justify your conclusion. At some point, is it asking too much? So I think I'm honestly more offended by her illogical framing than I am the clear racism in this clip. Okay, the clip is racist as hell on so many levels. But goddamn, can we at least be educated, be refined with your racism? Don't be an ignorant oaf with your racism. Put some effort into it beyond going to these racist bastions of higher education. Like, you know, be sophisticated with your ignorance, right? Please. Oh, man. I'm the Hermes of verses. I write my curses in cursive. Like, at least be sophisticated with your ignorance. I'm sorry. I can't be as offended by her racism in that clip as I was by how utterly stupid that entire experience was. I had to play it twice to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I didn't miss anything. She did. And it was called a point. She missed her point. All right. Let me read some of you guys' comments. You guys are tripping me up in here. I cannot look at the comment screen while I'm doing this stuff, because you all literally will make me exact like I'm doing right now. I can't pay attention because I'm trying to read. Robert Blue said, but Ben, that's what those pundits are paid for, to say stupid shit. I mean, I would be the absolute, you all would hate, you think you hate Candace Owens. Imagine if I was out here beating the stomp in the streets for conservatism. Because I make a lot of effort in making a logical argument. So therefore I could never, I'm sorry, never mind. Forget the entire experiment. I could never be over there with Candace Owens and them based sheerly on my talent, because my talent is only based on the fact that I absolutely reject bullshit. I'm allergic to bullshit. No, really. I went to the doctor. Never mind. I can't even set it up good. I'm going to give it up there. I'm going to stop right there before I make it bad. Let's do this Patron party. Y'all are crazy. Wild. Y'all are wild.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and get twice the content and unfiltered interviews without any of the commercial interruptions.
And here we go. Very special welcome to all of our newest patrons and Twitch subscribers. Very special welcome to our newest patron, Tempest Andrews. Thank you for becoming a patron. Very special welcome to Smack Talk 94. Thank you for subscribing on Twitch. Tree Mood Bataki, thank you for subscribing on Twitch. Damian Sims, thank you for subscribing on Twitch. Jaded Storm, thank you for subscribing on Twitch. Jaden Thorne, thank you for subscribing on Twitch with Amazon Prime. True Dwabi, thank you for subscribing on Twitch with Amazon Prime. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show, where you get access to none of the commercials, all of the content, uninterrupted interviews, and you give me the ability to speak power into the powerless, whether the powerful like it or not. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Yeah.
Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
All right, All right, folks, let's keep it going. There is never a shortage of media critique that seamlessly spills over into a critique of white supremacy. And it's just, Fox News is a masterclass in American ignorance and white supremacy in the 21st century. So let's continue the masterclass.
Restrictions. They're distancing and taking some precautions, but they're just declaring themselves autonomous.
It's a sanctuary pub. Like, doesn't everybody like that? Don't we all like sanctuary cities?
We do.
And
We
pubs.
love them.
And if you,
Especially in New York.
supported Chop Chaz, right? What they did to those businesses, like that was an autonomous zone. So I think that these guys are just picking up where everybody else was leaving off.
Jesse, it's only fair.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. So you have East Coast Chaz, now you have a West Coast Chaz. Who will get shot? Who will get raped and who will get raided?
Oh, my God.
I think we all know the answer to that question.
Well, this would be a winter of love and peace, Greg, as the Seattle mayor.
Does Jesse Waters, I don't know if I can say this without my stream getting canceled, but Jesse Waters, there is a level of tension. I'm trying to see how I could say this. I don't know if I can even get this out. Here it is. Jesse Waters doesn't look like he's actually ever gotten into a fight before. That's all. Or he doesn't carry himself as a person who's actually gotten into a fight before. Because a person who's gotten into a fight before just kind of, you learn how to like just knock a little bit of the smugness off your chin so nobody else has to, right? You still carry yourself with a little confidence, bravado, swagger, all that kind of stuff, right? But if you actually been in a fight before and you managed to do a little bit better than Nate Robinson, right? Win, lose, or draw. I love Nate Robinson. I don't even know why I did that man like that. I love Nate Robinson. I hate to see him get done like that. But when you've been in some fights before, you just don't put your chin out so far. Jesse Waters, his chin is proverbially like there's a sexual tension between his chin and some boxing meme. I had to walk the thin line on that one. A boxing meme. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that clip. I don't even care about the substance of them being hypocritical about autonomous zones, right? That's the subtext. Or actually that's the context, is that they are being hypocritical over autonomous zones. But what gets me is that Jesse Waters just really just strikes me as a guy who never learned how to tuck your chin, man. Tuck your chin. You know. All right. Shout out to Mary Animal Cheered on Twitch. Thank you for the cheer. Thank you to True Dwabi. Did I miss True Dwabi? Thank you for subscribing with Prime. Sorry that I missed that. There was something I was looking for specifically and I cannot find it yet. So I'm going to move on. And when I find it, I will let you all know. Questions from the chat room. ComCorrect said in their Oprah voice, you get a pardon. You get a pardon. You get a pardon. Absolutely. True Dwabi over on Twitch said, to add to this morning's conversation about Leopold versus Hitler. Okay, I'm sorry. That's a hell of a statement. I just have to make sure everybody understands that, we talked about it on the show this morning. So if you want to get the full context of what we're getting ready to go into, we have like an hour-long conversation about it, and it was a dope conversation. To add to that conversation this morning, we call Germanic tribesmen and Vikings barbarians, but black and brown native people savages. In modern gaming, a barbarian is a playable class, a powerful hero to be awed and idolized. Fascinating. That is actually a very fascinating point that that I think actually needs a little bit more time than tonight's episode. I want to deal with that expressly. Let me go over to the super chats. Shout out to everyone who's sending us super chats. You guys are super dope. Thank you so much for that. Reverend Donna, thank you. She said, to quote Maya Angelou, when a person I had it. God darn it. When the person, forget about it. I had it. My wife even approved it. Like, listen, there's a fundamental difference. I'm going to get to everybody's super chat, but I got a little tangent. Can y'all go on a tangent with me? There is a fundamental difference between women in your life and their approval and what it means. Okay. This is what I mean. This has been a great week for my wife and I in our marriage. We have grown so much. Namely, I have grown so much. The different type of approvals that you get from the different women in your life, when you're a man and or you're a boy or whatever, and you get your mother's approval, can I just tell you, it means everything emotionally, but practically it could very well not mean anything. Like if your mother is telling you to go out for basketball and you're my height, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes their approval doesn't mean as much as the symbolism of their love. But I do think that if you're in a real ass relationship with your wife and you manage to get her approval on something, then it's probably a good deal, because if there's anybody on the face of the planet who can see right through everything about you and tell you about yourself in ways that you didn't even know was true about you, it'd be your wife. So when your wife approves something, that actually means something, fellas. If your wife says that you look good, you look good. Okay. Unless she was just lying to you, which is a total possibility. So my wife told me my Maya Angelou quote was good. My Maya Angelou impersonation was good, but that's all I can give you because I can't even get it. The voice is not performing tonight. Reverend Donna said, to quote Maya Angelou, when a person tells you who you are, shows you who you are, they are, believe them. I just massacred that because I don't know why. Let me read it again. When a person tells you or shows you who they are, believe them. Trump and the Republican Party that go along with him and his followers who drink the Kool-Aid are telling us exactly who they are. Thank you for that. That's absolutely true. And that is the most powerful statement. That is the most powerful quote, because I promise you quite a bit of misery in my life would have been avoided if I just believed a person when they told me who they were the first time. Nick says $20. I'm sorry. Nope. Read it wrong. Nick said, is the magic number tonight, but Apple won't let me. Oh, $20 is, no, that's actually in there. Ugh. The formatting threw me off. Sorry, folks. I'm going to get it right tonight. Shout out to all 1,300 of you who are sitting here as I struggle answering these questions, because I'm struggling reading them because they're situated between my light and it's just really funky. Anyway, Nick said $20 is the magic number tonight, but Apple won't let me do it. Sorry, Ben. Well, Nick, thank you. I appreciate the effort. Anthony was able to send in $20. So, Nick, I don't know. Did you really try it? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I joke with Nick like that. She's been down with the show, with the stream for a very long time. In COVID years, it's a long time. Anthony Teets did, though, manage to get $20 in there. Thank you so much, Anthony. We appreciate it. Black Corvo shouting out the shirt. Now, listen, somebody mentioned that this jersey has become a co-opted symbol of Bolsonaro in Brazil, or the fascist regime of Bolsonaro. So two things: F Bolsonaro. I can't even say it right now. F him, and reclaim everything. Like, the fascists don't get it. I had on a matter of fact, I'm gonna wear my black and gold shirt tomorrow. I hadn't worn it since I bought it because somebody was like, "Oh, it looks like the Proud Boys," and I'm like, you know what? Damn it! I spent money on that shirt. I'm gonna wear that goddamn shirt. Thank you, Black Corvo. Oh, Anthony Teets. Hey, man. Hey, thank you so much for that very generous super chat. We really appreciate that. Maddie Ice said the GOP is a proto-fascist agency that must be dismantled on an existential level. Cheers and love to everyone from Rhode Island. Thank you, Maddie. And I agree. They are a very dangerous threat to this country. Ali Bean said, you are amazing. Well, you're more amazing. Okay, that's all we have so far. I want to make sure I didn't miss any. And there was something else that was really important that I was going to talk about, but I can't. It escapes me. Micah, jail friend. Almost missed you, found you. Ben Dixon is always up. Anyone else terrified about the assassination of the Iranian scientist and its ramifications? No, I'm not terrified by it because Iran has shown to be a reasonable actor. And I will argue that based on the literal, the academic, and the moral definition of reasonable actor. Iran has demonstrated patience, and Iran has demonstrated level-headedness when dealing with this Trump administration. And I'm not speaking specifically about the assassination itself, except for the extent that I believe that Iran, since they have shown us to be the reasonable actor up until this point, especially when we're saying when you put Donald Trump and juxtapose him to Iran is the reasonable actor on the international stage, and Donald Trump and the United States, as a result of Donald Trump, we were not. That changes on January 20th. I think Iran can see the forest for the trees. I think they see a pathway back to the Iranian nuclear deal, which is beneficial to them, which was beneficial to the American community, right? Iran had a pathway to become a part of the international community with the JCPOA, right? But Donald Trump, being the moron that he is, right? The small man that he is, having to attack and undo everything that Barack Obama ever did, took America, destroyed the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which is also known as the Iranian nuclear deal. He destroyed it because he wanted to undo what Barack Obama did. And what did Iran do? They kept a level head. They made moves, for sure. They made moves, as is their right. But they kept a level head when we assassinated their general. I'm not saying it's guaranteed that they're going to keep a level head, but I think if they've shown us a track record of level-headedness up until this point dealing with Donald Trump, then I'm sure that they will show some level-headedness in the sense of, and again, like, somebody attacked them, somebody committed this assassination, and they have every right to their autonomy. But the point is that they can see that Joe Biden is on his way in January 20th. And I think that they would rather get back to the table so that we can get back to something that looked like a future that included Iran versus a future that intentionally makes Iran a permanent enemy. Sorry, international relations is actually my passion. International relations is actually my thing more than even presidential politics, but I digress. Let's look at one or two more questions. And then, oh man, we're only at 49 minutes in. I really thought we were like an hour and a half in. Goodness. Let's take a look at a couple more comments here. Arthur and Rockets said, how tall is Ben? I guess I did set myself up for that. I think I made that comment earlier. Oh, man, I'm 4'2". See, the thing about expectations is you set expectations low so that when you finally come around and admit the obvious truth that everybody who knows how this works in America, 5'7". 5'7.5" when I put on my Timberlands, though. All right. Yep. Somebody already said it. That's it. There is the 5'7" dilemma. I'm going to do an episode. No, I'm not going to do an episode on that shit. Hell no. Somebody should do a sketch on the 5'7" dilemma. It's like that is literally the average height of the average man in this country. No, 5'10" is. But the average short person in this country is probably like 5'7". It's like everybody you know who's short is 5'7". They're 5'7". So everybody's either 5'7", 5'10", or 6'1". unless you're like one of these real tall, super, basketball players. But anyway, I digress. I do want to talk about, I'm sorry, I'm reading your comments. You're really a little person out here. Yeah, man. Yeah. I saw a picture of Dr. King and I finally realized, I'm like, oh no, that's how short I look. Cause me and Dr. King were the same height, but he's much more of a stature of a man. Right. But I saw a picture of him standing next to Malcolm X and I said, oh, wait a minute. That's how I look when I'm standing next to my homeboy from high school. You couldn't tell me that. Shit. I'm thinking I'm tall as everybody else. Then I looked at the photo. I'm like, no. Martin really looked kind of short up on Malcolm like that. So anyway, it's always a fun journey. It is. Sage Productions said Ben can always laugh at himself. I enjoy that. Shit, you better be able to laugh at yourself. It's 20 and 20. It's the pandemic. I know how to laugh at myself, but I also know how to tell truth in a way now that I didn't know how to do before the pandemic. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the pandemic has grown those of us who take life seriously. I think it's grown us up in ways that are unique to each and every one of us. I don't think any of us learned the same lesson. I think all of us have learned a lot of lessons. The lessons that I talk about on this show, on this stream, really are the lessons that we as a collective community, as a country, have failed. And that's the lessons of, collectivism. Can we put on a mask to save our neighbor? No, we can't. And that's the grim reality of the lessons that we have not learned in this country. But for the rest of us, we have lessons that I think we've learned and that have matured us. And I can test this out right now. When you guys get out of quarantine, how many of you are really just going to, well, I don't know, actually, I can't prove it. Let me take that back. The reason I can't prove it is because the way you have grown is probably totally different than the way that I've grown. But I can tell you what I learned. Every dot shall be dotted, every I shall be dotted, every T shall be crossed. You will hear from my team. You will hear from my attorneys. Right? There's nothing going to fly under the radar from here forward. Not apologizing for anything from here forward. Like, I can't believe, and it was part of growth and development, right? Like there's a portion of my life that I live out with you all. And even as a 40-year-old man, there's still growth and development that happens. My wife made sure that I had some of that development and growth this week. Ooh, shout out to my queen. That said, the way that you developed during this pandemic is totally different. So I can't prove for you, but I could just show you for me, just the dealing with apologizing for excellence, right? Like, and sometimes we do that because we want to be generous to other people and not make them feel uncomfortable about their crappy design. It's crap. Now, I'm not going to tell people their stuff is crap. I might. But, I am going to tell people, man, don't bring that stuff to me. Like, step up your game when you bring something to me. Because I work hard. And my wife works hard. Everybody we're associated with works hard. I come from the working class. This is like the only time in my life where I haven't had like 2.5, 3 jobs, like two jobs that I have to go to and one job that's like a gig. So I'm working class. I've always been working class. And the way this country works in regards to There is a certain perception that has to be shaken. And when we come from the working class, that perception is completely the opposite of what the truth is. I wanted to take my time with it because I wanted to make sure that I said it precisely. There is a stigma that's attached to the working class in this country that is the exact opposite of the working class in this country. The stigma is if you're poor, you're lazy. The reality is that we work harder than anybody else. Now, clearly, I'm not working class anymore, but that shit brand new, right? Like, I'm not apologizing for anything. I'm just saying, like, it's brand new. It's fresh enough for me to be able to still 100% identify with it, with the fact that you could work 2.5 jobs in this country and not make it. And because I've got that, that pressure was already in my life, you throw on top of COVID-19 and on top of my wife having to, be the homeschool teacher so that I can continue to build this, you build on all that pressure, man. You come out of this and be like, I'm too old for that shit, bro. I'm too old. I'm too old. I'm not too arrogant, but see, there I go apologizing. Okay, yeah, I'm arrogant. Okay, cool. We good. And I got a sneaky suspicion that you grew up in that way too. COVID-19 has changed a lot of things, right? And I'm not just talking about this from the perspective, I've had self-improvement in 2019. No, I'm just individualizing something that I'm sure happened with you so that you can understand collectively what has happened in this country. Okay? There's always going to be layers to the cakes that I bake on this show. I want you to identify personally with the maturation that is happening across this country as a direct result of COVID-19. And as a result of COVID-19, I think collectively the progressive people, no, take that word back. I don't really want to call it progressive, but the people who are fighting for a progressive future. That's the people who are fighting for a progressive future. We are in position. We are finding each other. We are connecting. We are amassing power. We are positioning ourselves. We're doing everything that we can because we know the future has to be progressive. The future has to be progressive. So, to that end, if we just look at the totality of all of the lessons that we haven't learned from this country during COVID-19, it shows you that we have a very specific problem that is going to require a very specific solution. The problem is ignorance and white supremacy, right? It is ignorance, white supremacy, and bigotry. You could probably lump them all in the same and just say white supremacy. That's the problem. That's the root of it. The economic problems that we have in this country, they're protected and guarded by white supremacy. The solution is, honestly, it's not policy. The solution is not a set of policies. We won't get a set of policies until we actually address, God forbid, I'm not even going to finish that sentence because I hope it doesn't take that long. Maybe we can get some policies. Let's fight for some policies. We can get the policies that we need, though, if we change the underpinnings of this country. If we find people who will engage in good faith, if we do not waste any time with the people who are trying to engage with us in bad faith. We lose a lot of time doing that. But we find the people who want to engage in good faith. We find the people who actually want a future. Right? Not these sociopaths who are more than happy to watch everything crumble around us right now. I'm talking about finding and connecting with people who actually want a future. The solution is there. It's organizing outside. It's organizing, amassing power. Like there's a lot of organizations that are doing it. A lot of politicians, a lot of, PACs, a lot of mutual aid organizations, media companies. We're all doing this. We're organizing for power. And I think the elements are in place. But one of the key elements that we were missing, which was the whole point of the segment, one of the key elements that was missing, for me personally, was the one that I picked up during COVID-19, right? It was the lesson of we're grown. We're adults. We have responsibilities. We have children, or we have friends with children, right? We have love and compassion for the future generation, even if we don't know any children personally, okay? We want there to be a future, but we're adults. And we have been stifled. Progress in this country has been stifled by a particular ideology that hit at a particular time in American history, and we're still dealing with the ravages of that right now. But it came, trickle-down economics, neoliberalism and trickle-down economics. When it came to this country, it came at a period of generational transition in this country. Let me see if I can find a really simple way of saying this one. This economic policy is the economic policies of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, to be quite honest with you. There's an overlap generationally. You know what? No. Scratch that entire framing. Here's the framing. The future has to be progressive. The future is progressive. Period. It must be. The economic policies of the last 40 years have devastated an entire generation and saddled us with trillions of dollars in student debt with barely enough job to pay off those debts in our lifetime. The future must be progressive if we actually want our children to have an inhabitable planet. The future must be progressive. The solution is to connect with people in good faith, to help them to see that the future is progressive, not because we give a damn about the name and the label of progressivism, but because we literally have to make progress from where we are right now to a place of viability. Not just survival, but viability. We've got to give our children a chance to stand a chance in this universe that we haven't even made it past our front doorstep yet. So the future is progressive. And that's all I've got for you tonight, folks. We'll see you next time. Play. What am I going to close with now? I'm going to close with this music. Here we go.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.